I hope this is recording. It is. All right. Let's get right into it. I will be teaching you Git and kind of like the basics of it. Now, before you start watching this video, I highly recommend you to make a GitHub account. And once you've made the GitHub account, I recommend you to download Git because that's the two things that we're going to be talking about. Basics of Git and how to connect it to GitHub. Now, in this case, we have two um, two tabs of Visual Studio Code open. One, well, actually, they both are the exact same. They both have the exact same files, exact same everything. And I'll show you if you are working remotely or you made changes at your work and you want to download those changes back to your home computer. I'll show you the amazing world of Git and how you can do that with websites like GitHub and Gitbin and all those other stuff. We're going to be using GitHub in this case. Anyway, let's get started. First, you're going to have to go to your folder with all your code and whatnot and type git init. This is assuming after you've downloaded Git itself. Boom. Now, most people would actually tell you to use git bash, which in this case, if you run it on terminal, it'll give you the exact same results if you run it on git bash, which is why I'm doing it. And it's also much better because it's all on one tab. It's much more visually pleasing. So anyway, now once we've initialized it, all of the commands are now ready to use, I guess. You can't do anything if you haven't initialized Git. That's kind of like starting your engine on a car. You can't drive anywhere if you haven't started it. Now, Git repository, locally and online, is just a file or a page that keeps track of your progress to a series of files, or one file. This is very useful for programmers because you can keep track of all the changes that you've made, and if you want to go back on a change or if you want to restore an older version, change, let's swap that with commitment because commit is what we're going to be using instead of change. But it's just really nice. It's like history on a Google Doc. You know, you can go back and look at all the past revisions that you've made, and it's really helpful. So let's get into it. I've initialized GitHub, or Git, not GitHub. I get those mixed up a lot. And let's go ahead and make a new file. Cool idea.txt, and in here we can write, I don't know, wire. I'm just looking at random objects around my house. But anyway, we've made a new file, and let's go to this existing file and let's modify it to say button. Alright, two modifications, one making a file and one modification. So first, let's do git add, and then cool idea.txt, and git add con email.txt. These are all the files that we've made changes to, and before saving changes you have to add them to your work tree. That's what it's called, and I'll get into that later. At any point, if you're confused what you're supposed to add and commit, you can always write git status, and it will return with this. Changes to be committed, and in this case, I'm ready to save, hit Control Save, kind of digitally, on these two new changes. So let's go ahead and do that. Git commit -m, and then open quotations, and here you write a message. The message could be a space, singular letter, or a whole paragraph, or anything in between. Now, the purpose of the message is to give a quick, concise definition of the changes that you've made to a file or files, so when you're looking back through history or your employers looking back through your history, they can see what changes have contributed to what. So in this case, I can write created cool idea and modified con email.txt. Just there you go. And just like that, we've committed these changes. Now, that's like very, very simple. If you want to remove a file, you can remove it just like any old file, or you can write git rm and then the name of the file, which removes it from your computer and from the repository, and you have to also commit that change as well. But I'm not going to be removing any files here. Now let's go ahead and I believe that's all the very simple stuff. Now let's go on to the connection with GitHub, which is where things get just a little more complicated, just a little bit. Now here I have my GitHub account, and under the branch master I have the exact same thing we have back on Visual Studio Code, minus the new changes that we've made. So go on here to code, and right here you can see HTTPS. We have um, a link that connects our local repository to our online repository. So go ahead and hit that little button to copy it. Go back to Visual Studio Code, and here you will write git add, or here, I believe there you go, git remote add origin, yep, there you go, and then the URL. And just like that, I get an error message, but you won't, because my error message says remote origin already exists, because I've done this in the past, but you will get something like added origin or whatever. And the way to check is if you write git remote and -v, you will get all of the links to different online resources that you've connected your local repository to. Now I've connected mine to this link, which is just my GitHub account, and as you can see, it's under the name origin, and they're both for fetch and push, which is I don't want to stretch this part too long, but essentially it's, if I want to take changes from a file, I'll fetch it, and if I want to apply changes to a file, I'll push it. That's how it works. Now, now let's continue. What's next? All right. Currently, our remote GitHub account doesn't have this nice cool idea txt and the addition to this email.txt. So let's go ahead and do that. Git push origin master. Now this applies our changes to GitHub. And now in GitHub, if we go and reload, we can see that coolidea.txt has been created, and conemail.txt, in both of those, it has the little sentence that we've put earlier. And if we open conemail.txt, we can see, boom, there's a little button that we added. Anyway, now these words might not mean anything to you, and let me tell you the reason why you would write git push origin master, which kind of feels like a randomly generated word sequence. But push and pull are two things that you must understand in Git. Push is taking all the changes, all the modifications, and applying it to somewhere else. Pull is taking all the changes and mirroring it onto your local area. Now, our local area is this file, and we've pushed that to GitHub, which is why it says push. Origin is the kind of like the label of the link. We added origin and then the URL, so that's what we call the link. And then master is the branch. If we go to code, we go to this drop down menu. I have many branches, but my default is called master, which is this kind of like a synonym for main. Main, master, it doesn't really matter. But yeah. Anyway, let's continue. This is my second computer right here on the left, or on the right. The second computer. It's just another folder, and I want to download the changes from GitHub. Let's go ahead and do that. First, git init, initialize, and git pull. Sorry, and then the link. And what that will do? It will pull all of the changes, and just like that, coolidea.txt is on our second file, and we can see a button here as well, just like that. Now, if you wanna, if there's nothing here, you can write clone instead of pull, and that will quite literally clone. It's kind of like the same command, but it will open a new file with everything in it. So here, let me show you clone. It's a very useful, and let's just speed run this. I'm gonna make a change to coolidea.txt. What's up? Right? Let's add it. Git add coolidea.txt. Boom, we added it. Git commit added what's up. That's my little message. Oh, let's go ahead and add -m. Almost had an error message there. And boom, we've committed our little addition of what's up locally. Now let's push it to our origin. So git push origin master. And just like that, all changes have been pushed. And if we go back to this one and write git pull and then the link, we can see if we go to coolidea, what's up has been transported there. So it's a very short process. I'm talking a lot, so you're probably just, I guess, scared. I don't know, but it's pretty easy. Don't worry about it. And let me just show you one more thing when removing files, because this tickled my brain. If you delete something and you go git status, you can see in red that this change has not been staged for a commit. And I can't add it because it doesn't exist. What do I do? All you have to do is git rm and then the name of the file that you have deleted. Cool idea.txt, and just like that, if we go to git status again, it says, all right, change is ready to be committed, so let's go on and commit it. Git commit -m, of course, and then I deleted file, whatever. Broken English is okay when you're programming. And git, or you can hit the up arrow to access previous commands. Git push origin master, and just like that, if we pull it on this device, our coolidea.txt disappears. Yeah, and of course, if we go to GitHub, it also doesn't exist when we reload the tab. Just like that. I hope you enjoyed. This might have been a little too long for attention spans of probably high schoolers that are going to see this, but I hope it was informational. I hope this jumpstarts your adventure into GitHub and Git, because it definitely did for me. And see you later. Hopefully OBS Studio didn't mess me up.